I would love to invite the final presenter of today's afternoon before we move to our final panel here. Sacha, please join us on stage and add some controversy to our talk today.
Hopefully. Hello, can everyone hear me? It works? Works? Okay, good. Oh good, the presentation works. That's always a good thing. So, I'm Sacha Bailey. I've been working in art for about 12 years, crypto art for maybe 5. But at the moment, I'm working with FOMA magazine. And if we go to the next slide. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. So this is me, CV, very good. I started 5 years ago with a platform called the BAE, which recently I left, but was one of the initial crypto art platforms to launch. But in 2020, we started FOMA Mag, which, next slide. In 2020, we started FOMA Mag with a host of other creatives and artists in the crypto art space. Next slide, if possible. Cool. These are all the founding members of FOMA Mag. We have Robness, we have Theo that is in the room, and everyone kind of started this with the idea of we wanted to prevent gatekeeping, censorship, and give a voice to the small artists in the space that otherwise wouldn't be able to talk or wouldn't have their artwork shown. The idea with FOMA is publish everything. If we go next slide. There we are. On the first issue, we had Max Osiris, which is an artist that many of you may know. And the origin of FOMA was he was banned from the platform Super Rare, which I believe he went on to make a hat trick. We featured him on the front cover simply to send a message that people could not be censored in the space, because we felt that, oh, there we go. We felt that it was unfair that within a click of a button, a platform could take away someone's ability to feed themselves, essentially. And this is a future that I didn't want for art, and as we were bringing into this space, I didn't want that to be where art would go. So all of these people had a reason of creating FOMA, and we moved towards creating something that was for the artist, by the artist, so to speak. And if we go to the next slide, these are the 3 reasons. That makes sense. Right, so publish everything within reason. We at FOMA will literally publish whatever you want, except for the one issue I think with, is this thing on? Does it work better with or without? It works better with, okay. The issue I find with neutrality in general in publications is that I think personally you can only remain neutral if you don't say that the opposing point of view is negative. You have to just present your... Who did that? You have to present your opposing point of view as if it is just... Sorry, that threw me off a bit. Who wrote that there? But you have to present your point of view as if it is the best point of view. You don't worry about the other point of view and making them look bad. If you make someone else look bad when presenting your point of view, to me, your point of view is invalid. So as long as it's neutral, we will publish it. Now, this slide wasn't meant to come up now. However, the idea is that right now I see in crypto art and a growing sense of censorship and a difficulty with gatekeeping, which is only going to increase. With platforms like Sotheby's entering, unfortunately, for better or worse, they have to adhere to what the art market is. I don't necessarily think that Sotheby's entering the market is a bad thing, but I do think that we need to make sure that we look out for censorship wherever it can be. And if we go back to that slide, and then go to the next one afterwards, there we go. So a quote I can never quite attribute, but I've heard a million times, is that if developers were left to their own devices, they would accidentally recreate the Soviet Union due to an obsession with centralized systems and efficiency. They wouldn't do it on purpose, but they would do it just out of necessity, of convenience, trust, all of those things. And this is actually a meme that Theo posted the other day, and I just thought it went really well with what I was saying. Oh, and then, okay. Next slide. There we go. Order. So what the positive aspects of this is if we look back at the internet and we look back to centralization, decentralization, since the 90s, the internet has flip-flopped between the two, and I personally believe that blockchain will probably follow the same pattern. So if we go back to right in the beginning, we're talking about home servers. Then afterwards, we flipped to server farms, which are more centralized. After that, cloud computing came along, and it was decentralized at least at first. Then after that, Google took over most of the cloud computing. I mean, you have Amazon, you have other things, but essentially it is all run by Google. So cloud computing became centralized. Then you could argue with blockchain, we moved back into a stage of decentralization. And if we go next slide. So where I think we are now with crypto art is I think we're moving into a place where it's less about the digital social media space and it is more about the physical events. Today, here, this is a personification of that. Over the last 3 years I've been in Tokyo. This is 3 different events that we held there. And if we go to the next slide, we have London in 2020. This is an event we held. This is obviously the Vertical Crypto Art Gallery, which, again, is a representation of how amazing these in-person things are and how different the space is now. And if we move to the next slide, this is in Paris, where I was recently with Robness, and crypto art is in the National Museum. Like, that's huge. It's in the Pompidou. Across from the Pompidou is this 3-floor gallery dedicated to NFTs. No one 5 years ago, when we were selling things for maybe $5 if we were lucky, could have anticipated that we would be in a national gallery with the Bitcoin logo. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And the 3-story space across the road is just as mind-blowing as well. And these have popped up in London, Paris, Tokyo. You know, you name it, they're everywhere. Next slide. And finally, obviously, I had a bit more of a flow to this, but it's a mirror. Get it? But we are talking about it in Italy now. And anyway, to finish off the talk, next slide. If you want to support what we do at FOMA Mag, where we present crypto artists from all different walks of life, anyone who has an idea, anyone who wants to be presented, it's a free and open magazine. Every issue now is designed by a different artist. So issue 10 is designed by Laser Gun Factory, who will be showing in the exhibition curated by Empress Trash, and it's based on the 1980s magazine Heavy Metal. For the last 3 issues, Vandillo designing one, myself designing another one, and Laser Gun Factory designing this one. They've all been by new artists. If you'd like to support us, go to foamag.com or follow us on Twitter. Yeah. And I believe this leads into a conversation, probably about censorship. I don't know. That's it. Thank you.